We have a predator that came from the depths of the cosmos and took over the rule of our lives. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our lord and master. They took over because we are food for them, and they squeeze us mercilessly because we are their sustenance. You know there's a system that controls you, but did you know that this system has an owner called a predator? It controls the entire system for one purpose: to hunt you and feed on your energy. Why? Because it views you as prey and food. Watch the video to the end and you'll learn why you're in danger, how to get rid of the predator, build up your strength and energy, and reclaim the life you've always dreamed of. Have you ever felt this way? You set very specific goals and begin to take action to achieve them, but one day you realize you're stuck in a rut, unable to make any progress toward achieving your plans. At that moment, you begin to doubt yourself and think there's something wrong with you if you can't achieve what you want. In reality, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that a predator is getting in your way and draining your energy. With its cunning tricks, it makes you see your goal and expend energy to achieve this goal. But through the lies and deception it fills your life, all your energy is diverted to the predator, who forces you to live in a way that makes you a compliant prey whose energy they feed on. Now, you're probably thinking this is just another bizarre idea designed to titillate you and that there really is no predator. But if you haven't clicked the video yet, it means deep down you probably feel and know it's true. The real tragedy is that we've all become so accustomed to the predator and its control that we no longer notice how it replaces our desires with its own. This means that your idea that there's no master of the system is very likely the predator's idea, not yours. It's deceiving you just to keep you from discovering it and constantly supplying it with energy. To understand what a predator is and how it operates, imagine that in addition to your physical body, your biological suit, you also have an energy body with which you are connected through your psycho-emotional state. Your ability to correctly understand and manage your emotions and thoughts heals your energy body and makes it stronger. For example, when you feel depressed and experience negative feelings, it means your energy body is weakened, losing its shape, and will sooner or later become exhausted. When you experience a healthy outlook on life, joy in what is happening, and your intellect functions with impeccable clarity and sobriety, it means you are full of energy and your energy body literally glows with power. By the way, if you feel like your life has turned into a never-ending Groundhog Day and you're constantly losing energy without knowing where it's going, we've prepared a practical map just for you. 3 steps from exhaustion to energy control. This is a clear framework that will help you see right now where exactly you're losing your energy. The link is in the description. Download the practical map to start regaining control of your energy today. And we're moving forward. Since ancient times, the people of knowledge have taught that to live a full and harmonious life, a person must develop the ability to control both the physical and energetic bodies. And herein lies an important nuance. Since we don't consciously manage our energy, the predator controls it. We're accustomed to letting things slide and caring little about what we're experiencing in the moment. This benefits the predator because our unawareness forces us to react impulsively to even the most insignificant things. Therefore, we're likely to waste a huge amount of energy on yet another expression and experience of destructive emotions or on useless and negative thoughts and then feel devastated. This happens in our lives because at such moments the predator takes all the energy we expended on self-expression. It feeds off us like a biological battery. Thus, we essentially become food for the predator. The predator doesn't allow us the right to be anyone else. At this point, you're probably thinking that this isn't you and that you're completely independent in your choices. Granted, that's true. But then you should take a sober look at your life and try to answer honestly why it's so likely to be filled with selfishness, aggression, anger, fear, and pain, and why exactly the same things are just as likely to be present in the lives of others. After pondering these questions for a few minutes, you'll likely come to the conclusion that we've all become egotists to one degree or another, overwhelmed by fear for our future, the pain of self-condemnation, and the burden of blaming ourselves and others for our present. Isn't that so? But this apparently happened to us because when we're selfish, we lose control of our energy body. Therefore, at such moments, we very often experience negative emotions that drain us of much strength and energy. It's the predator who has made us all the same, smug, rigid, and egocentric, because it feeds on our energy. Let's now consider how the predator managed to pull off all this behind our backs. Surely it's impossible that no one knew about it before and couldn't tell others. It's not as simple as it might seem at first glance. The predator is cunning and devious. To hide from us and feed on our energy, it executed a grand maneuver from a hunter's perspective. For all the people, its prey, this maneuver is simply terrifying. The predator endowed us with its own intelligence and forced us to think as it does. Look around. Think about what the world we live in has become. It has become a wild and dangerous jungle. Here, the strong constantly seek prey and exploit the weak for their own ends. Here, everyone tries to catch someone in their traps in order to manipulate them and live at their expense. We fight for a place in the sun, wage local and global wars, and behave like true predators and scavengers. But we were not born for this. Nature intended us to be creators and builders, living in unity with each other and with nature. The terrible master of the system has made us predatory and subjugated us to its will. Humans are not truly at the top of the food chain. That place has long been occupied by a predator. The mindset implanted in us by the predator is called mundane thinking. It is precisely because of this mundane thinking that we have become selfish and learned to exhibit predatory tendencies, because we focused exclusively on the survival of the physical side of our nature and stopped harmonizing it with our energetic body. Turning us into unconscious beings who are unaware of their energetic potential is the predator's main goal. The more stupid we are, the more food they have. In fact, we all need to learn to manage both our physical and energetic bodies. When we think and act this way, we learn to treat our energy with care and not give it to the predator. Here's a quick example of how this might work. Imagine for a moment that you're used to being angry at people and can't seem to shake the habit of living each day with a heavy heart. You're losing energy and strength in the constant struggle with yourself and others, leaving you with no energy left to do what you dream of. What steps will you take to free yourself from this external predatory influence? First, you realize that you weren't born evil, meaning anger isn't natural to you. At some point in your life, a predator implanted this quality in you to manipulate you. This means you can get rid of anger. Second, you free yourself from anger and the predator's influence, using the right strategy, which we'll discuss below. Third, the energy you wasted on anger returns. With the restored energy and pent-up strength, you naturally overcome everything the predator brought into your life. You immediately heal your entire life from manifestations of anger, not only towards people, but also towards yourself. You're probably already asking yourself, how can I break free from predatory influence? Let's be clear, this isn't an instant process and requires a strategic approach. But the sooner you begin your journey to freedom from predatory influence, the faster you'll defeat it. Our strategy may seem complicated. However, it's not impossible to apply, and the method described is extremely effective and practical for freeing yourself from external predatory manipulation. We understand how difficult it can be to break free from predatory influence. Our research team spent over 15 years studying it and understanding its effects. Only then did we develop a strategy for breaking free from predatory influence, which we'll now share with you. The first step toward freedom is to create the intention to rid yourself of the predator. If you take a few minutes to reflect on the key changes in your life, you'll likely realize that they all began in one way or another with your intention to change or alter something. But for the power of intention to manifest, it must be backed by real actions. For example, to quit smoking, a smoker must first sincerely desire to do so, tune into the inner strength of the intention to quit, and then take real steps toward freedom. Smoking is one of the predator's many tricks to weaken people and drain their energy. The secret to a properly formed intention lies in faith. Therefore, before creating the inner impulse to quit, a smoker must learn to believe that the habit of smoking is not innate, that it was instilled in them by a predator, and most importantly, that the smoker themselves can resist the predator and even defeat it. This step may seem insignificant, but we assure you, is the most important and difficult step, beginning to believe in yourself and your abilities to create the intention and gain freedom from the predator's destructive influence. You must realize that only faithful and consistent actions, supported by intention, can help you regain the energy and strength that are the foundation of the life you dream of. Of course, when working with new ideas, it is necessary to interact with those for whom such ideas have become part of their lives, but such people may not be around. By the way, for this purpose, we created the Three Suns Closed Club, in which, together with the participants, we touch upon the unknown sides of both the spiritual nature of man and the unsolved mysteries of the world and the cosmos. It is the Three Suns Closed Club that helps to find like-minded people and begin to perceive the world better, clearer, and deeper. In the Closed Club, we publish all necessary information, links to films, books, scientific articles, etc. that will help you to get personal enlightenment. In case you want to join us in the Three Suns Closed Club and learn to perceive new ideas and begin to develop magical thinking that will enrich your life, we will leave a link in the description of the video. The second step toward freedom is recognizing that a predator hides behind your pain. Pain always frightens us, which is why those who prey on our pain hide there, not wanting to be discovered. It's vital to learn to view pain not as a problem, but as a challenge. Recognize that pain is an indicator of where the predator is hiding and where its headquarters is located. When you embrace pain as a challenge, you'll learn not to run away, but to peer into it and see beyond it. And one day, you'll see the predator behind it and realize that it's the cause of your pain. This will help you get rid of it. After all, you'll stop focusing on the pain itself and start taking action to eliminate it. When the pain is gone, the predator will have nowhere to hide and will be forced to leave your life. How does this work in practice? For example, you constantly become aggressive and uncontrollable when something doesn't go according to plan. This causes you a lot of trouble and is your pain. You don't like your behavior, but you can't help yourself. And every time you don't like something, you become aggressive. In this case, you need to accept your behavior as a challenge, as a task, by completing which you will get rid of the predator. After all, it is the predator that inclines you to impulsive behavior and aggression. The next time you feel like getting angry at something or someone in your life, realize that the anger isn't yours. It's a tool the predator uses to disarm you and force you to waste your energy. This way, you regain awareness of your actions and you have a choice to act correctly or to act in the predator's favor. Recognizing pain as a challenge will teach you to make conscious choices. The third step toward freedom from the predator is developing discipline. You must become disciplined enough to resist the predator's tricks. Discipline, in this case, doesn't mean waking up at 5 a.m. to wipe yourself with snow and douse yourself with water. Discipline is focusing your energy on the internal and external limitations created by the predator, ultimately overcoming them. Discipline is the constant striving to answer the question, who am I really, and transcend the predator's influence. Through discipline, we discover how strong we truly are. Let's return to the smoking example. When someone says they lack the discipline to quit, they're actually figuratively saying they don't know who they truly are. Smoking is a predator's way of influencing the smoker and limiting their consciousness. If such a person focused their energies on recognizing that smoking restricts their freedom of expression, if they invested their energy in understanding that smoking doesn't fit them, is superfluous in their life, and doesn't provide a true answer to the question, who am I really? Then they would, through the necessary actions, begin to quit smoking in order to truly understand themselves. To develop discipline and begin to use it to rid yourself of the predator, practice 3 simple methods. First, begin to treat your body not just as a biological shell, but as a living and precious structure that is a direct embodiment of the laws by which nature operates. Nature is always merciful to us, and it supports us in our quest to become the best version of ourselves. Therefore, learn to respect your body and treat it with care. Second, learn to smile immediately after waking up and before going to bed. This can be a minute-long practice, but approach it with utmost sincerity. The predator makes us experience anxiety and doubt, through which it feeds on our energy. People of knowledge understood that smiling is a powerful practice of protection from the negative obsession that the predator casts. Third, every day when you wake up, let your first thoughts be about how every opportunity this day offers will help you become a better person. If you're having problems at work, realize that they will teach you how to respond to the situation appropriately. You'll learn something new, and you'll do everything you can to resolve it as rationally and peacefully as possible. If you're having problems in your personal life, you'll recognize that the root cause lies primarily within you. Therefore, you'll strive to find the root cause, carefully address it, and do everything you can to resolve the issue and improve your relationship. Now, you have a strategy that will free you from the predator's influence. Take action and boldly march toward your freedom. Listening to a strategy is one thing, but putting it into practice is quite another. To not just learn, but to take action, we recommend downloading the practical map we've prepared especially for you. It contains the 3 daily steps we discussed: how to work with intention, how to embrace pain as a challenge, and how to develop discipline. Follow the link, add this tool to your arsenal, and start building the life you truly want. Anyone who doesn't challenge the predator is doomed to constant fatigue, anger, and total exhaustion. Every day of their life will remind them of who they wanted to be and who they never managed to become. They will begin to blame themselves and everyone around them for the world's unfairness. And in their old age, they will say to themselves, "Alone, time flew by. It's as if I never lived at all." This happened because this life was lived by a predator. Now imagine that this person finally decides to rid themselves of the predator. One day, they will achieve a life in which they feel strong and energetic. And this will be the life of their dreams. They will discover their purpose, forget worry, doubt, and fear, and become free. The predator is the master of the system with terrible plans for us. It feeds on our energy and deprives us of the right to make free choices. But we are not defenseless creatures and can fight back against this embodiment of selfishness. To do this, we must employ a strategy for ridding ourselves of the predator. We all need to set the intention to become free, accept our pain as a challenge, and become more disciplined through the simplest actions. Only in this way can we reclaim our power and replenish our energy. Only in this way will we truly find the gift and blessing of being human.